There's an ongoing mentality in dedicated gaming circles that is seeing a game's difficulty placed up on a pedestal is the case for a game being high quality. The argument is that a game being hard shows that the game cares more about its quality than a game that isn't punishing or overly challenging. It's something that's found itself bubbling to the surface in response to a first 15 minutes video on Polygon of the recent release of Doom. And I'm not going to dance around it. The video isn't great. Whoever was playing, Polygon wisely did not post the player's name, they were not prepared for the frantic and aggressive gameplay of Doom that turned out to be the game's big surprise. As a result, the entire thing is cringe-worthy. For many gamers watching, it seemed to have an interesting effect, not unlike watching your grandma start to type on a keyboard and time starts to stand still. "Get good!" railed commenters that the poor intern likely conscripted to get a video up since Doom didn't have review copies and all that. For what it's worth, I really think that that's all this one situation was, an attempt to keep up with the ever-ongoing war for clicks in games media. Everyone else has a video up, so Polygon needed one too, of course. Instead, what I want to focus on today is the theory that many in the industry decided to put forth, that reviewers and commentators should have an approximate skill in regards to the games that are being played. Those in such positions should be, the theory goes, good at games. Saying it that way probably sounds like common sense, right? Okay, I'm asking a leading question and there's a whole ton of video left, so you could probably guess that there's more to that, huh? Here's the thing. Define what it means to be good. Seriously, what level of skill needs to be reached before someone is qualified to talk about games? Does one's ability in Doom automatically translate into the writing ability needed to articulate strong opinions of the game? What if a game is just bad or poorly designed? If high skill were a hardline requirement for credibility, you better believe game companies would use that as an excuse to dodge genuine criticism. Now, some would contend that reviewers and the like should be overly skilled as to better represent gamers, and while I see where the intent there is, I can't get behind that reasoning either. There are more people playing video games now than ever before. Millions of people's lives center around devices that, among other things, play video games. All of those people then likely have a home console or a computer that does the same thing. All of these people are playing games as well, and they are gamers regardless of what you think. What are their skill levels? How do we represent them also? And that's what it's really about, right? Representing all kinds of gamers and skill levels. You know, as opposed to just making sure that the games you like are only played by those that are just as passionate as you, as to reinforce everything you already believe to be true and cannot stand to have possibly criticized. That would be crazy talk, right? This brings us back to the nature of difficulty in games itself. Can a game's difficulty be its primary conceit? Should it be the primary merit? I'm coming down on the side of no. But hear me out. I do have reasoning for this. Difficulty, not unlike a perspective choice or a user interface design, it's a feature, a component of the whole, not the whole itself. A game's difficulty only really matters when there are the resources to overcome it and the motivation to do so. I absolutely hate playing through the London sequence of Mass Effect 3. It's constantly throwing enemies at you, it's just continually giving you a sense of defeat over and over again. Seriously, remember the Banshees in that game? Jeez, forget the ending controversy, those things were the single most irritating part of that entire game. But I became so invested in everything about that game and that series, I had to master the game's mechanics well enough to power through that nightmare. I had a conversation about this on Twitter with my fellow Three Good Sirs host about this as well, and he argued that the fulfillment of overcoming a game is enough. And I understand where he may be coming from, but even arcade-style games like Guitar Hero don't just throw the hardest part of their games at you at the very beginning of the game, because the game requires a well-designed mechanic and a convincing aesthetic to motivate players to actually master the game. I mean, seriously, Internet, if we are just going to consider every single difficult game, put it up on a pedestal, and say this is a big slap in the face to those lame casual games, then Super Star Wars is the greatest game ever made. And Super Star Wars is garbage. Now look, I know what you're putting in the comments, and I know exactly what game you're going to talk about, but the thing is, I'm going to argue why that proves me right. Yeah, it's time to talk about Dark Souls. And I know what you're going to say.
Dark Souls' very core mechanic is that it is hard and it will kill you repeatedly.
But is it? When we take games like Souls, Guitar Hero, even Doom, and boil them down, we're taking away everything that makes the experience the entire package. As gamers, we should be seeking reasons to face the challenges put in front of us in the games that we play. Look at Dark Souls. Dark Souls is challenging, yes, but it can be learned and mastered. It has diverse gameplay, solid content, a strong lore, and it looks like a convincing world to be a part of. It's not hard to get lost in the world of Souls, and that's why so many people love it. Once all of those things happen in a game, the game isn't so much difficult as it is encouraging. It's encouraging players to keep going, and that is an entirely opposite mindset of get good culture. Isn't that why streaming and competitive play and speedruns have become so ubiquitous in culture as well? We can rally behind players that are better than us, not because they're better than us, but because we're seeing them overcome things that we're passionate about, and they're doing it in cool and inventive ways. They're doing it with skill that we can respect and get behind. We love those games that they're playing as well. The best games are the games that convince us to play them in the first place. Unless, of course, you're the kind of person who only needs to show off how good you are at video games. And if that's who you are, well, I feel bad for you, because you're missing out on a whole lot more of what these games want to do for you.